Hello guys, welcome to Go Do Micro Projects. In this application, we're going to display an array of data just like the exam score using React, hooks, and Redux. If you want to type along with me, kindly install the following. 1. npm install Redux. 2. npm install React Redux. 3. npm install Redux DevTools extension. And 4. npm install UUID. That is that, guys. With all said and done, let's begin. Thank you very much. Let's begin. Now we begin by creating three folders in our SRC folder. So we name the first one assets. Create another folder and name it components. Then we'll create another one and call it Redux. So that is that. Now let's take the first one, assets. Now in this application we have no images or spinners, so we just leave it blank. Then we move to the next one, components. Now with the components, let's create another folder and call it populate folder. Now inside the populate folder, let's create a file and call it populate.js. Good. Now with our boilerplate, instead of ordinary dates, why don't we make it reactive fragment? Good. Then inside that we can give an h1 tag, then we say hello. So we link that to app.js to view on the screen. So inside here I can say populate. Good. Now let's import that. Great, it has been imported for us already. So now let's check our screen to see how it's doing. Great, we have hello on the screen. Means we're ready to go. Now before we begin, let's look at the structure. So with the structure, let's give the header, okay, a header and a body. So we have gonna have the title here and the body over here. That is a table over here. Now about the page setup, I want us to have, if this is the page, we're gonna divide the entire page into 3, 6, 3. So together we can have 12 columns. Okay, 3, 6, 3. So that is going to be our page setup. So with that said, let's begin. Good. So we go to our we enclose the app.js and we go to our populate and start with a div. Good. Let's start with a div. Create a div. And inside that div, let's give the class name and call it row. Now inside the row, let's create another div. Let's give the class name and call it call md3. Okay, so we can just copy that. Then the second we're going to make it 6 so that we can work in the 6. Okay, so in the 6 we have a div and give it the class name and call it card. And inside that we can give it a div and give it a class name and call it card header. And then likewise we can just copy that and call the next one card body. Good. Now let's take the first one, card header. Now the header, what we want our heading. So we heading, we can say let's give it an h2 tag. Then we call it exams score app. Good, that is that. Done with our body header. So next is our body. So we can say body here. Good. Now with the body, what do? We need a table. Okay. And inside the table, we need T head. Now inside the T head, we need T row. And inside the T row, we need T data, TD. Okay. So this TD, we can say first one is going to be, let me just copy that 4 times. Good. So the first TD, we're going to call it STD student ID. Next TD is going to be first name. Next one, last name, and next one, scores. So that is that for the T head. So after T head, next we're going to look at the T body. Over here we can say T body. Good. Now with the T body, we hold on to it. Before that, let's check our screen to see how things are going. Great. It's like our header looks too big. Let's add some styles to everything. Okay, by first changing the header, make it H3 instead of H1. Let's see. Good. Let's make it H3. 3. Good. And row, let's add some margin. So say margin top 5. Then let's check it out. Good. Now let's add more stars to it, making everything centered. So we go to our card and say first center. Then give it a class name. Call it font weight, GHT weight, bold. Okay. Good. Let's check that out. Great. Now let's make everything the others to bold. So I just copy this class name. Okay. Copy that and add it to the data too. Something like this. Right. Let's check it out. Good. Now let's add more styles to the table. We go to the table and give the class name. Say table. Say table dark. Then table striped. And table bordered. Then we come to the header. The table head, T head 2, we can just give it some class names and call it BG dark and text white. Okay, let's check it out. Great. Now let's add some CSS to the background of the header too. So I go to my CSS and I say dot card header. We give it a background color of 022C52. Good. So that is that for the background color. Let's add some text color. Let's give it white smoke. Okay. So that is that. Let's check that out. Great. So I think we're ready now for the body. Now the body will come in through the Redux. Okay. So at this juncture, we're ready to go to Redux. So we go to our Redux folder over here and create a file and call it store.js. We'll create another file and call it root reducer.js. Okay, now inside the Redux folder, let's create another folder and call it populate Redux. Okay. Now inside the populate Redux, let's create a file and call it populate.action types.js. Now inside that we create the populate Redux folder again. Let's create another file and call it populate.actions.js. Okay. Now lastly, we create another file, the same folder, and call it populate.reducer.js. Great. So that is that. You can close everything here. Good. Now let's take the first one, action types. Okay. So we open action types. And we look at the action that we need in this application. This application is just loading data. So we're gonna say export const load data equals sure, let me just copy this. It's the same thing. Let's copy, put it there, load it. So that is that for our action types. The next one we go to the actions. So in the actions, what do we do? First thing to do is to import our action types. So we say import what? Load data from I get populate action types. Good. Now that's it. Then next you can select load data, small letters, equal to a function. I'll return what? A type called what? Load data. Come on. A payload called what? Load data. Good. That is that. So we can now export what? Export load data. Okay. So that is loaded as small caps. That is that with the populate.actions. The next we're going to look is populate.reducer. Now with the reducer too, what we do? We need to first import our action types. Now before that, the action types we did it in the actions. So I can just copy and paste. Come here to the reducer and now just come and paste it. Good. So import. Now we create a feature key in the store. Okay. So that goes like this: export const Let's call it populate key. Populate key equals, meaning the store, we want to call it populate store. Okay, so that is that. Now let's create an initial state. So we select initial state equal to what? An array. Okay, then inside that array, let's have the following. Let's have an ID, let's give it ls001, then comma, let's give it first name, small letters, first name, let's give it John, then let's give it normal name, last name, and let's call it get comma. Good. And the last one, we give it the marks. Marks, we say 80. So that is that. So we good to go now. So I can just copy this 5 times, then just do some changes, okay, to create the array. So here we say go 3, 4, 5. That is that. So just comma between them. So over here, say comma. Okay, then over here we can just say 2. Then first name, we can give it Anna Charlie. Okay, Anna, then here Charlie. Then marks, we can say 85. Next one, come on, don't forget. Then give it 3. Name, we can say Francis Wayne. No, Francis. Now we can say Rain. The marks, we can give it 77. Next comma, then the ID 4, and the name we're gonna create Biggie. So we can say Grace Biggie. The marks, we can say 72. Good. To the next one, comma, we say ID 5, name, as with Alex Max. Alex Max. Then the marks, we can say 69. Great. So that is that for our initial state. So we continue by saying let populate reducer be equal to a function. Then inside that, we can say our state be equal to initial state action, where we can continue to say let's type payload equals what? action because the action contains the type and the payload. So over here in our switch statement, the type, we can say that when our case is load data, what do we do? Then return what? Give us the state back. Oh, sorry. Come here. Give us the state back. And our payload back. Great. So that is that for our case. Now we need our default case. So we say default for case, then we say return state. Okay, that is that. We can now export populate reducer. Okay. Now export the populate reducer to where? To the root reducer. So we go to the root reducer, then import our populate reducer. Populate reducer from where? From Redux, then populate reducer. So that is that. We also need to import combine reducers. Import combine reducers from Redux. Then finally, we can select root reducer equal to combine reducers into bracket what? Let's call the populate key. I give some caps. Populate key and give it a value populate reducer. Great, Alex. So that is that. We can export our root reducer. So we can say export root reducer. Now export root reducer to where? To the store. So we go to the store and import our root reducer. So we say import root reducer from where? From root reducer. Okay. Next we need to import create store from Redux. Then finally we need to import compose with DevTools. DevTools from where? From Redux DevTools extension. Wow, I did the create store twice. Let me just clean one. So that is that. So I think we're ready now. So finally we can select store equal to create store into bracket root reducer comma compose with DevTools function. So that is that. Then finally we can export what? Store. Now export store to where? To the app.js. We go to the app.js and import our store. So over here we say import store from where? From Redux, then store. Good. We also need to import provider from React Redux. Good. So the next thing to do is to wrap the provider around the component. So wrap it around it. So I say provider. Good. Now inside the provider, I can call the store. Store equals store. I cut this one, take it down. Good. So that is that. Our store, our app.js is also set. Next is to check our screen to see if there's any complaint. So we do that. Wow, there's complaint. Populate.reducer, our initial state has an issue. Like keywords. Let's check it out. So let's go to our reducer, and let's check our initial state. Now the comma, we have the, oh sorry, it should put all of them in quotes. Okay, we missed out the quotes. Let's do it. Great, let's check it out again. Great, no complaint. So next, let's check our view our store to see how everything is represented. So we go to our store, we check the state, check the raw view, we can see our state well represented. Okay, so that is that. Now what we need to do is to link the store to the component. So to do that, we need to import use selector and use dispatch. So let's check it out. So we get app. Let's go to our, we can close all this. Close everything closed. Now let's go to our component. The next thing to do is to import use selector. Okay, from React Redux. Now what we need to use, we're going to use the use selector to view our store. Okay, view our store in the component. So to do that, over here we say to view store. Okay, so view store, let's call it, oh sorry, let's call it view populate equal to use selector function. Now inside that function, we need to have another function. Which we're calling, okay, this way. So inside that we can return the key, the return state, and the key. We say populate, it's in caps, populate key. Okay, that is that. We need to import populate key. So we say import what? Populate key. Oh, populate key. Oh, from where? No. From where? Populate folder? No. From Redux, yeah. Then Redux from populate. Then from populate reducer. Good. So that is that. Also, we need to import UUID. So we say import v4 as UUID v4 from where? UUID. So that is that. We import the UUID for the key. So we're going to see how to use the key. So that is that. Oh, sorry, I didn't bring the state. Good. So that is the view store is ready. So we can use view populate. Now to check that out, we can just use a pre tag. It's a pre tag. Oh, sorry. Pre tag, and we call JSON. Okay. JSON.stringify to bracket view populate. Close it. Good. Now let's view the screen to view our store. So we have view populate is not defined. View populate is not defined. Let's go populate.js. Good. Now view populate is not defined. 9 view populate. Oh, sorry, we didn't put let. So we say let. Okay, view populate. Okay, that's it. Let's check out this one again. Great. So we can see we have our data in the store represented over here. Okay, so there's no need to go to the store back and forth. Okay, you can just check the store and component. So to do that, so we need to just put the data now into the T body. Okay, the T body is here. Call of JSX, then we say view populate dot map to bracket. We create a function. Inside a function, we can say data should return what? Return our tr, and inside of tr we can have our td. Inside that we can have our data dot id. Okay, so let's check that out. If we have it, good. We have our data id ready. So let's give it a class name. Have the class name here already. You can just copy it. Okay, good. Go down and I paste it. Great. So that is that. I can just copy this 4 more times. Oh no. Good. Good. So the second one we can say data dot first name. Next one data dot last name, and last one data dot marks. So that is there. Let's check it out. Great. So we should be good to go now. What else is missing? Good. Our key. Now we didn't add the key. Now over here, our T will always say key equals to UUID v4. So that is that. Then we add our percentage. Good. So that is that. Let's check it out again. Right. And we can take our rate tag off. Where are you? Rate tag off. Good. So that is that. I think we're good to go now. So guys, that is that. Thank you for sticking through. Don't forget to do good. Catch you in the next video.